The Galactic Academy's Xenobiology lecture hall fell silent when Akeem walked in with Kenneth padding beside her. Professor Vextar, a towering Kralithian with crystalline scales that refracted the sterile lighting, stopped mid-sentence. His four eyes widened in what the universal translator interpreted as shock mixed with disgust. The other students, representing 17 different species from across the coalition, shifted nervously in their seats. "Human," Vextar's voice crackled through his translator, mandibles clicking in agitation. "You cannot bring a predator into this institution. Remove it immediately." Akeem didn't flinch. She stood at the entrance, one hand resting protectively on Kanat's shoulder. The young wolf sat calmly beside her, amber eyes surveying the room with the same quiet confidence his human companion displayed. "His name is Kanat," Akeem said, her voice carrying across the amphitheater with surprising authority for someone barely 20 standard years old. "And he's not an it." A ripple of horrified whispers spread through the class. The Thalaxian student in the front row, a being resembling a luminescent jellyfish in a hovering containment suit, pulsed an alarmed shade of crimson. The herbivorous Grent delegation huddled together, their leaf-like appendages trembling. Vextar's scales darkened to a threatening obsidian. "I am aware of your species' disturbing tendency to cohabitate with apex predators, but this is a place of learning. That creature poses a danger to—" "Try and you'll regret it," Akeem interrupted, her tone dropping to something primal that made even the professor pause. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The words hung in the recycled air like ozone before a lightning strike. Kanat, sensing the tension, remained perfectly still, a statue of controlled power. His ears were forward, alert but not aggressive. To those who understood body language, he was the picture of a well-trained companion. To the coalition species who had evolved as prey, he was a nightmare made flesh. "You dare threaten a faculty member?" Vextar's translator struggled to convey his outrage. "I'm not threatening you, Professor," Akeem replied, finally moving forward to an empty seat near the back. Kanat followed with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. "I'm informing you of reality. You try to remove Kanat, you'll have to go through me. And I promise you, that won't end the way you think it will." She sat down. Kanat settled beside her chair, laying his head on his paws in a display of perfect obedience that somehow made him seem even more dangerous. "This is unacceptable," Vextar began, but a voice from the middle of the classroom interrupted him. "Actually, Professor, I believe you'll find it's entirely within regulations." All eyes turned to Takara, a Valorian exchange student whose species had been allied with humanity for the past decade. Her scaled features held an expression that might have been amusement. "Human Directive 247, subsection 12. Humans registered with psychological or medical necessity may maintain their bonded companions in all public spaces except those designated as biohazard containment areas." "Psychological necessity?" Vextar scoffed. "Humans are death worlders. They have no—" "We have every need," Akeem cut in quietly. "Just because we can survive doesn't mean we don't suffer. Kenneth isn't just a pet, Professor. He's my anchor, my family, the reason I can be here, light years from Earth, surrounded by people who look at me like I'm the monster in the room." The accusation landed like a physical blow. Several students had the decency to look away. Akeem continued, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "You want to know why humans bring predators into our homes? Why we bond with creatures that could kill us in our sleep? Because unlike most species in this galaxy, we understand something fundamental. Trust isn't about safety. It's about choice." She reached down, running her fingers through Kanat's thick fur. The wolf's tail moved in a slow, contented wag. "Kanat chooses to be gentle. Every single day he chooses me over his instincts. And I choose to trust him. That bond, that mutual respect between predator and predator, that's what makes us strong. It's what made us survive the Australian outback, the African savannas, the Arctic tundras. We didn't conquer Earth alone. We did it together with creatures like him." The lecture hall was utterly silent now. "So you can try to remove him," Akeem said, meeting Vextar's eyes with unwavering intensity. "But understand this, you won't be removing a pet. You'll be severing a bond forged over 40,000 years of evolution. You'll be telling a human that her family isn't welcome in your classroom. And Professor?" She smiled, and there was something ancient in that expression. Something that reminded everyone present exactly what kind of world had produced humanity. We take family very, very seriously. For a long moment, Vextar stood frozen. His crystalline scales flickered through several colors as his advanced mind processed the situation. He could enforce coalition regulations. He could call security. He could make this human's life difficult. But he was also intelligent enough to recognize when he'd lost. "Very well," he said finally, his translator conveying resignation. "The companion may stay. But if there are any incidents, there won't be," Hakim assured him. "Kanat's better behaved than half the species in this room." As if to prove her point, the wolf yawned, a flash of impressive teeth that made the Grent delegation flinch, then settled more comfortably on the floor, completely non-threatening. Professor Vextar returned to his lecture on genetic adaptation in extreme environments, though his usual commanding presence seemed somewhat diminished. Throughout the class, other students cast curious glances at the human and her wolf. Some looked fearful, others thoughtful, but to Kara, the Valorian student caught Akim's eye and offered what her species considered a smile. Perhaps the gesture said the galaxy was learning. And in that moment, with Kanat's warm weight against her leg and the stars of 1,000 worlds visible through the observation windows, Akim felt something she hadn't experienced since leaving Earth. She felt at home. Because wherever humans went in this vast universe, they would never go alone. They would bring their bonds, their loyalty, their fierce love for the creatures who had chosen to walk beside them through the darkness. That was the human way, and the galaxy would simply have to accept it.